welcome back to In My Hometown with Jamie Stein, where we get into the business of our neighbors.
Our neighbor today is Sarah Hall, and she is a professional actress and founder of the Sarah Hall Theater Company. Some people know, but may not, that you have some really amazing on-screen credits. So, I mean, ER, my favorite, The Gilmore Girls, Chicago Justice, others. Tell me and us like a little bit about your journey and sort of how you got started in theater. Did you know you were in acting in general?
Well, first of all, thank you.
Okay.
You're giving me far too much credit than I deserve. But so I started getting serious about acting when I was actually pretty little.
Yeah.
And I think it really grew out of the fact that I think, like most people, I had an imperfect childhood. And I really found it to be a wonderful outlet for me, emotionally and psychologically. There was just something really freeing about getting on a stage and being able to be emotional without being judged or being told that I was too sensitive or, any of those sort of normal responses to kids having strong feelings, which I think I did when I was little. And it served me on the stage as opposed to maybe in real life. Right. So while I wasn't, the hard part for kids is that I wasn't really a musical theater person. I mean, I can sing, but like no one wants to pay me to sing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm sure that isn't the case, but okay.
I mean, in my shower, I'm amazing, but other than that, or in my car.
Right.
But there wasn't like a huge amount of opportunity until I got into high school to do more straight acting roles. Right. And that was really where I felt the most at ease. And I went off to college thinking there's no way I'm going to major in theater. I want to have stability financially. But I knew I wanted a program that had the option to have a major, but I didn't want to commit to it at that point. So I went to college. And by my junior year, I remember you had to declare a major now I feel like you have to be a freshman when you declare. It's awful.
Or in high school.
You got to declare before you even apply to college. But at that point, it was like your junior year, you had to decide. And I remember sitting my dad down and just being like, I said to him, I have to major in this. This is all I want to do. And so I did. And then I went immediately to graduate school because I knew that I wouldn't be working as an actor for a while and I wanted to continue performing. So I did all stage work, and my third year of graduate school was at the Shakespeare Theater in Washington, D.C. So I had a real classical training and background in Shakespeare that I had also had during
You learned the craft.
I learned the craft, really.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
which can serve you or not, to be honest. I mean, I don't think it's essential in order to be on television or film, but certainly to be on stage, I think it is. I think you can tell a TV actor or actress when they perform on Broadway, typically you can sort of tell. It's a different style. So, and then I moved out to Los Angeles with my late husband and pursued a television and film career. It was really hard, as your own daughter knows.
Yes.
But we were both lucky enough to work a bit, and really we were pursuing our dream, which was so lucky, so fortunate. And so I did do some television. I did do a little bit of film and one or two commercials. And then we had my oldest daughter, Julia, who's Zoe's age.
Yes.
And 6 months later, we moved back here. We were like, get us out of LA, no private schools, let's be near family. And then I was able to work a little bit here, but more importantly, start to develop a more professional career where I had money that I could rely on. And I'd always been teaching the entire time that I was acting, teaching at a collegiate level after I had my MFA. And I want to get into sort of that's exactly what I want to get into is sort of what was part of that transition from the actress to the educator, right, and leader, and then sort of your founding. But before, and you sort of you realize that time in LA, like you said, was this great time, but also just sort of fraught with what a lot of people, I guess, would expect or not expect, that how hard it is. I mean, I guess people know how hard it is to make it. Acting is really one of the only professions where you can't really do it just if you want to do it. No, you're reliant on other people to make it happen.
Right.
Unlike other forms of art, right? My mom used to say that that she wished that actors had solicitors like artists did,
Yes.
you know, so that you could be paid just to produce something,
Right.
as opposed to, you know, being totally dependent on someone else to give you an opportunity.
Right.
And the other hard thing about LA, which I wonder if Zoe
Yeah.
is experiencing this, as an actor, it's like you are the lowest on the totem pole.
Yeah.
I remember moving back to Glencoe, and I was like, I would tell people that I was an actor or an actress, and they were like dumbfounded. They were like awestruck.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, no
Mhm.
one's responded to me like that about being an actor in years. Like,
Yes.
you are just sort of a nothing
Right.
there. And
Right.
that was demoralizing.
Okay.
And also, and then it was sort of sad because a lot of people would sort of take on that role, and there was a desperation about it. And you really, as hard as you could try to succeed, so much of it was out of your control.
Right.
And that's what ended up really shifting things for me. In terms of the teaching, it was just something that I did all along, even before, like during college, before college, after school. I couldn't wait tables. I dropped trays. I was like a tray dropper. I waited tables for 3 weeks, and
Okay.
I was like, this is not for me.
Yes.
So I knew that I had to do something else to supplement my
Yeah.
income. And I loved working. I had a fellowship during graduate school, worked with college kids there with theater and speech. And I loved it. Like, it was it was the only other time that I felt that same sense of belonging that I did when I was performing.
Right.
So,
Sort of back to the roots of why you even got into it in the first place.
yes.
Versus sort of the LA thing, which is just I'm not saying being famous, but just this idea of sort of what happens there.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah, I think for me, LA, I chose LA in large part because I always considered myself to be a more subtle
Okay.
actress, hence the low talking. I am a low talker,
In our
apparently.
one microphone here,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
But I have been accused of that on several occasions.
Okay.
So I'm not a big and bold performer.
Mhm.
I think I'm smaller and more subtle. And I knew that would translate better with television and film than it would
Yes.
on the stage. So it felt more natural for me to sort of be smaller in my performance. I like real and truthful. And there are a lot of people who can do that on stage. I just don't think that was necessarily my strong suit. So that's why I wanted to go. Will, my late husband, wanted to go because he wanted to be famous.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
There's
was
nothing
his-
wrong with
No,
that.
not at all. And I was like, go for it.
Right.
You know.
And I have watched several times the scene on
Will and Grace.
Will and
Yeah,
Grace, and
yeah.
then on the other one, the Washington D.C. one.
Oh
my
yeah,
gosh.
West Wing.
West Wing.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That's
Will in a turtleneck.
Yes,
That's a good look.
loved it.
Yeah,
that
was a
dinner
good look.
party.
Yes,
thing,
exactly. Good call.
So that's great. So the Sarah Hall Theater Company is founding that, and let's talk a little bit about that and what you're able to see in kids. It must fill your heart, or I think it does.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, it does. I mean, your sister
Yes.
Leslie and I were just
Yes.
talking about her daughter participating in our summer program.
Yes.
And the last day of summer camp, I always come to say goodbye to the kids, and it looked like we had done something really terrible
Yeah.
to all these kids because they were hysterically crying.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh.
sobbing
Greer cries
about
after.
leaving.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, Greer's always cried
Mhm.
every semester, but every session. But this was like epidemic. I mean, and all I kept on thinking was what a tribute to the fact that these kids have established that we ran around the circle and said one word to describe summer camp. And one of the kids said home. And honestly,
I love
it was
that.
so moving. All of a sudden, I was becoming one of the sobbing kids. You know, I was like, they said community, love, family. It was so meaningful.
Mhm.
And I think that, to me, there are two things. One is that sense of belonging, and that I believe that for the most part, we really create an environment where kids can take risks, be themselves, and be accepted.
Yep.
And when you're growing up, particularly in middle school, that is a really hard thing to accomplish, and it is one of our primary objectives. You know, so I think having that safe place that you can be you and be loved for being you is so important. The other thing that has always been part of my mission is getting kids up in front of other people feeling good about themselves. And I hate to say it, obviously with theater, it seems to attract more young people who identify as girls. And I think that for young women, getting up and getting in front of people and feeling great about themselves, I think that's important to me. And of course with young men too, but it's just in our society, obviously things can tend to skew a little differently.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I have a daughter who went through that, and I think just from a public speaking or just exposure to things and just getting over your fears, and part of that, the community aspect, there is so much of it.
Meet Aveline, clean, delicious wine made with organic grapes and nothing you don't want. No added sugar, no unnecessary ingredients, just beautifully crafted wine for any occasion. Pour a glass and feel good about it.
Why do you think, though, and I have heard that there seems to be sort of less kids getting into it in high school?
I don't know.
New Trier
in particular.
I don't know about everywhere in the U.S.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I wonder too if there's not sort of the older kids get, the more you're talking more about, you know, influencers and, you know, social media, as opposed to sort of these longer 2-hour shows that feels maybe antiquated at this point. I would say if there's one thing about New Trier that I would do differently, it would be the play selection.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know why they're doing these sort of more dated shows when
Our
they could
Town
be doing.
and Glass Menagerie are still that was when I was in high school.
Me too, right? And we were together. Yes, at New Trier.
And I think they just did those this past year.
Yeah, or they did.
Not that there isn't a place for it.
But I think when you have a Mean Girls, like do Mean Girls.
Right. I saw Freakier Friday.
Exactly.
One of the community areas.
Right.
Like
that's fun. Beetlejuice. Like there's nothing to take away from the classics, but intersperse them with shows that the kids may get a little more excited about. So, I mean, listen, I'm not on the play selection committee. I don't want to get involved in that.
Don't come after us.
Exactly, exactly. So I would say, I don't know
but
as
you
much.
could counsel them if they want.
I could.
Okay.
I'm open.
Yes.
I'm open to any kind of consulting work if needed. So yeah, I don't know what that would be in terms of high school, but I have seen that with New Trier, which is really unfortunate. Because our program's so good.
It's important for kids, students of all ages, that you've been starting to sort of expand more. Talk a little bit about that and how you've seen that grow and why.
Okay. Maybe 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I started bringing my programming that I do with young kids into senior living communities. It was really after my grandmother passed away, I was really missing being with that demographic. My grandmother was 104 when she died, and she was totally with it. And I attribute her longevity not just to good genes, which obviously is a huge part of it, but also she had a real interest in staying socially engaged and intellectually engaged, and she was lucky enough to be able to do so, whether it was reading a newspaper every day or still participating in classes or playing card games. She was very actively engaged. Exactly. And so I sort of became, you know, how this is your passion project. It became a passion project for me to develop theater programming for older adults, because when I was in these communities, I saw that they had so many activities that were more passive. Not that there's anything wrong with that too, but listening to music, watching a performance as opposed to participatory, engaging, interactive. So I started teaching these classes, and all of my classes developed wait lists right away. Wow. I mean, because we have these baby boomers moving into these senior communities, we have very healthy, capable, intellectual, sophisticated individuals who maybe are on a walker and their children want to make sure that they're safe, or maybe they're hearing impaired, or their vision isn't as good as it used to. And so there's so many reasons why they've moved into assisted living or independent communities. But they still deserve to be treated like, you know, capable, competent people. And I got to a point where I could no longer do the teaching because my own youth program was developing so rapidly. So I had to take myself out of the equation. I had people go in my place and teach, but it really wasn't hitting enough. I wasn't getting enough momentum to feel like I was impacting enough people. And then COVID hit. So I took all of the curriculum that I developed, which I have a play reading class, which is basically radio plays. I have a scene study class, which are original scenes that are created, 2-person scenes. And then I have a brain games class, which is sort of similar to improv. And I created curriculum, about a year's worth of curriculum, that I could then sell to senior communities. So that's what I've been developing on the side. It's called Integrated Arts for the Ages.
Okay. I had no idea about this. It's so great. Integrated
Arts for the Ages. Yes.
Love
so
that.
it enables a senior community, for example, an activity director, a resident life director, to simply purchase this material online. It's turnkey. It's simple to use. You could have a resident lead these classes. You could have a volunteer lead these classes, an assistant. Resident life directors at these communities are so overworked. Yes, and they need good material. It's reasonably priced so that, and they can reuse it over and over again if they want to. Because I really just want people within these communities to be engaged, to be active, to be social, to laugh and have fun. And all of these are prepared specifically for these populations. So larger fonts, discussion questions that are age appropriate,
Right.
So it's been a nice, it's something that I feel really strongly about, and it's been a nice balance to my youth programs too.
Oh, I love that. I'm always impressed with you about that, just to hear that. And the evolution of it seems natural, but it's also sort of your mind of sort of thinking about different ways to expand and sort of bring the arts to more people and to do that. I think it's really wonderful.
Thank you.
What has been, and that also sort of is a good sort of pivot or segue to the idea of the business of what you're doing, because it's not just the creative side, but it's also the business part. Has that been natural to you? I sort of know the answer to that, or maybe I don't know.
You know that I developed these programs with Helen Boris, who was my predecessor and my supervisor, and
a fixture here in
Glencoe.
North Shore,
and who definitely was spearheaded amazing efforts to get after school programming in place. That was a creative side, was developing the actual classes. But it definitely got to a point where, and I was teaching as well, and I'm going to go back to a little bit of teaching this fall, which I'm excited about.
Okay,
yes. Some out of necessity, because I have someone going on maternity leave.
Okay.
And some just out of wanting to try
so
again.
with how old, what
So
age
I'm going to start
what
directing.
are you choosing?
I'm going to direct Elf Jr. I'm going to just start directing it for Broadway Bound in Deerfield, just until my general manager, Sarah Tilford, is done with her maternity leave.
Oh, fine.
And then I'm going to go back and teach it's now called Little Performers.
Oh, not Footlighters.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, just rebranded.
Love it.
Little Performers in Glencoe, K through second grade. Yvette Stryker and I are going to teach a class together, just for funsies.
Okay.
So, because that's that class I just love.
We'll look for that.
Yeah.
And Elf is such talk about a great sort of universal story, and one that everyone sort of goes back to, sort of harken back to it. As Touchstone.
Yes.
I know that every year we watch that.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, great.
So
okay.
cute.
So back to the business.
So the programming, developing the programs was the creative side of it, and that was a wonderful experience. But then I really did take an active interest in how everything was being run, as opposed to just trying to do the work in the classroom. I was interested in understanding more about the business side of it.
Right.
And I don't have my MBA. I never was really in any kind of real corporate job. So everything I've done has been more based on instinct and then advice from people that I trust.
Right. Solicited and unsolicited?
For sure.
Okay.
But sometimes unsolicited is the best kind, right?
Yes.
I think that what I've learned is that my strength is in sales. Okay. I love to make a sale. Yeah. And then you have to do the job. It used to be the same thing when I would get cast in something. If I got cast like Gilmore Girls, and when I got cast, I was over the moon. And then I was like, oh God, now I have to go on a set.
Right.
And
be in that nurse's uniform.
Yes, and look horrible. At the age of 30, I look like I was like 50.
But that's a fun episode.
That's a fun
But anyone hasn't checked it out, check it out.
Yeah. If you blink and you'll miss me.
No.
But yes. So I think that the business side of things has been a real growth opportunity. And I've actually learned to love that side of it, And I've learned to outsource areas that I'm ill-equipped or less familiar with, and that's been wonderful to be able to delegate and learn how to do that. And I like being the person behind the scenes too.
Right.
And I didn't know that that was ever going to be the case, but it certainly has taught me that I like it. And I like the fact that I can create opportunities for the wonderful people who work for me.
Right. Isn't that so nice?
It's a gift. It is a gift.
I have read that a lot of these actresses or actors are starting to produce because you have more agency, more say. Yes.
Totally.
And so that would be great.
Totally. That was the biggest thing for me. I'm like, I was sick of being dependent on other people to have to value me.
Right.
And I really wanted to create my own opportunities. I was always somewhat of a self-starter. And now I not only get to create opportunities for myself, but I get to create opportunities for the people that work for me.
Right.
And that has a lot of meaning for me.
Yeah, that's great. And you've had some of these folks who've been with you since the start,
Since the inception.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, and that was the other thing that was super important to me is people have different models on how they do this. They might want teaching artists that with a higher turnover rate. I was not interested in that for a lot of reasons. And these are people who have stuck by me. We've gone through, challenging times, the loss of my late husband. We've had other challenges work-wise. And the people who work for me, I don't even like to say for, the people who work with me, they swept in. They were always there for me and for the company and for, most importantly, the students.
Yes.
And I can't believe how lucky I am to work with the people that I work with.
Oh.
They're phenomenal human beings
Yes.
and extremely talented instructors. And it's unbelievable that I get both.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think we know from being in different situations that that's not always the case.
Right.
So it's wonderful that you have that and you built that. I would say that, as I get older, the people who I surround myself become more and more important in what you're doing. And we talked about this a little offside, which was just that, when you have the opportunity to sort of pick and choose what you want to do, you really want to do things that, you feel have a purpose, meaning, and that you're surrounding yourself with people that you really like. And you built a great culture. In My Hometown is brought to you by the place that brings us all together, Hometown Coffee and Juice. If you're jonesing for a delicious avocado toast, berry bowl, make your own salad, something sweet, Hometown has you covered. Hometown makes you feel welcome.
Planning a milestone birthday, a corporate or fundraising event, or just celebrating something special? I know just the place. Uptown at Hometown Coffee and Juice. This cozy lounge-style private event space is the perfect spot for you. It's made for memorable moments. Book your next gathering today.
What has been the biggest sort of challenge that you've faced?
Well, that's changed over time.
Yes.
I think...
Right. I mean, not challenging your whole life.
No. I mean, I'm saying this in regards to Sarah Hall Theater Company.
Okay.
I think initially,
I have a lot of challenges.
I have a lot. We don't have enough time in this podcast.
Right.
I think initially it used to be very hard for me to handle a parent who was disappointed with their child's role. And a lot of that was during a time that I was the one casting, and these were my friends.
Yes.
And it was touch and go for me.
Yeah.
And I felt very personally about it. That, now that I'm in more of an administrative role, that's become less challenging for me because the way that I approach it is we are all on the same page. We absolutely want your child to be in a role where they will succeed. And I'm very clear about that.
Yeah.
And so are the people who work with me. Yeah. So it's an easier conversation for me to have. I think one of the biggest challenges I have is when I feel like parents lose perspective. Yep. And I think that that's just a product of age, like for you and I, we're no longer, I shouldn't, I'm going to tell this story and I may lose a parent in the process. I had a call. Yeah. We had registration for Glencoe programs the other day. And I had an email from a parent who wanted to talk to me about my tiny performers class, which is for 3-year-olds.
Okay. Oh gosh.
So I was gearing up for the call. I thought, well, what could we possibly be talking about? And she had said to me that she felt that her child, who was an October birthday was really ready for the 4-year-old program as opposed to the 3-year-old program. And I said, well, that's not typically what we do. And the park district is the one who sort of determines the age range. And she's, well, I think she said, I think she's really ready for more. Can you tell me about the classes? What kind of character development do you work on? Is there a stage?
Wait, and this is a 3-year-old.
This is a 3-year-old.
Okay.
Do they do a full play at the end of the semester? I mean, the number of questions for a 3-year-old, and then it turns out that the 4-year-old class would work better for the child's schedule. So I encouraged her to call the park district and utilize that to move her up to the 4-year-old program. But it was just funny. Like, I'm thinking to myself, are we really having this conversation about a 3-year-old?
Right. How do you usually coach your staff to handle things like that?
So I have made it a point to not have my staff deal with it ever.
Okay.
Because I think when you're the one in the classroom, as I said, when I was directing and I disappointed parents in terms of casting choices, it was personal. It felt hard on me. And I want to protect the people who work with me. So I have made it a point, unless it's a situation where a parent is asking for very specific feedback, and it probably wouldn't be best from me because I haven't had the same level of exposure to their child, and I want them to get the information that they need. So in that case, I may talk to my instructor, make sure that they're comfortable talking to the parent, and then outline what they want to say and how they want to say it, so that it's not as emotional. Because these are kids, and we understand that parents are parents, and that it's important to them, but it's also important to us. I mean, we spend hours on casting, and we of course feel devastated if a child isn't getting the part that they want, or if you see tears in their eyes. I mean, it's awful. So for the most part, I take care of those calls because I'm one step removed, and also I have the level of experience dealing with it that they don't have. When they have to, I try to step in and we outline it together, or I'm sometimes on the call with them, just so it's that they feel supported and protected.
And it's often, I would think, not. Well, maybe it's a mixture of sometimes the kid and sometimes the parent. But maybe sometimes the kid doesn't even care as much as the parent thinks that they do.
I think it typically is a result of a child coming home being very upset. A parent, we all know, we're only as happy as our least happy child. And so, we always say, we know there can be a tough parenting moment at home, but it is a parenting moment. So I think what happens is the parent has a response to seeing their child upset, and then they want to sometimes lash out or sometimes have a reasonable conversation, and all of which I understand. I've had those moments around volleyball with my kids, trust me. And because of what I do, I think I've taken a beat, but I wouldn't know that if I didn't do this for a living. So I could have had some really knee-jerk reactions too. I mean, it happens.
Oh, are you kidding? I'm perfect. I have never, I wouldn't want anyone to share all mine. But I would say, when you just said the taking a beat, I mean, I know we've all heard that idea, but when you can practice that, whether it's writing the email and just holding the email to the next day, you inevitably are not going to send that email the next day or soften it in some way. So those are things that you have to do. But all in all, it sounds like that doesn't happen, all too often, and you deal with it. What are some, you've probably witnessed some amazing or magical transformations of some kids that have come into the program and, maybe really gotten more out of it than you could have even hoped for.
And by the way, it doesn't have to mean that they became an incredible actor or singer. It's more like they've just flourished. Whether it is just, we've had so many children who have come in who have been quote unquote shy. I don't know what that means. Maybe we're introverted, maybe less likely to feel comfortable speaking in front of other kids. I use camp as a great example, because you come in on the first day and obviously there's so many kids that may not know a soul. And then these are the ones who can't let go of the kids the last day. So it's this idea. I've definitely had some parents too come up to me and say, like, you've changed my child. And my little girl who used to feel like she couldn't even open her mouth to say boo is now on the debate team or whatever it is. And I think for me though, and this is a reason why I miss being in the classroom, it's the connections that I formed with these kids. I was a tough teacher, but the kids always knew that I cared so much about them, and that's why I wanted more from them. And there've been so many kids like Zoe, for example, that I had the opportunity to watch them just grow through high school, and now college, and to be able to go back and they come running up to me and give me a hug, and they remember me, and that's like the biggest gift of all, the relationships. And feeling like you've impacted someone in some positive way.
Oh, I mean, I can imagine. I've been on the street with you. I've been at parties with you. You are a celebrity in your own right, and not necessarily for being an actress.
I'm kind of a big deal,
you are. But it's for being Sarah Hall and having this program that kids like have such a connection to, and parents as well. So that's great. What is the next what's the next step for the company, or are you just?
Well, I'm always growing. I always am looking to grow, and I'm always looking to grow, as I said, primarily more for the people who work for me or with me. I am trying to pursue integrated arts for the ages, but I don't ever want that to take away from my primary focus with Sarah Hall. Honestly, I'm working more in a way now where when I expand, I'm trying to create more opportunities more immediately for the people who work with me. So I'm doing more of a profit sharing kind of deal, because I want to provide more financial stability to the people who have devoted so much time and energy towards my company. And I want them to be able to benefit, not just, again, as a product of being an actress who makes very little money at best, I want them to be able to financially benefit from their work with me, not just have, a steady gig, but I want it to continue to grow. So that's sort of what has been my next step. I thought about maybe getting some, venture capital backing and trying to expand in that way, but I don't know that that's where I'm at in my life right now. So what really matters to me is benefiting the people that work with me. And I don't mean to sound like a martyr, because I am not one, but that is something that is important and is a strong objective for me at this point in my life.
You're also just the perfect, guest for me to have, because again, the whole idea of community and how are we furthering community, how are we shaping our community, who are the people that are doing that, and what steps are you taking? So I love that. I can't wait to hear more about sort of how that goes and where that expands. All right, here's my rapid fires. What's one moment, recent or not, that sort of made you think that this is why I do this? You talked a little bit about how your cup's filled and sort of seeing that, but is there anything that you can sort of
I will say this. I'm going to sort of use this in a general way.
Okay.
You may remember this with Little Footlighters, where I gave stars out on the last day. And
we still have them in our house somewhere.
Honestly is the most. So at the end of every spring session, I would create a star saying most creative, biggest smile, whatever. Each kid got identified, and I had an opportunity to say a few things about each student, because my feeling too in life is that you never get enough validation, ever. And every child, every adult deserves to have something special said about them. And those moments, and seeing those kids and their beaming faces and the proud parents, that sort of typifies why I do what I do. That's how I want people to feel in my programs.
I love that. Oh God. I'm like loving this whole country. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Honestly, try to be less reactive. Give yourself a second, take 24 hours, and then respond. And I mean that in my relationships, I mean that in my professional life, because you use the word practice. Not being reactive is a practice. And I think it serves you in every respect. Business wise, for sure, and being mindful. And every relationship, a business relationship, a personal relationship, a parenting moment, that would be my I don't know how much that's related to Sarah Hall Theater
No,
Company, but that's
good. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love your just honesty too. What's your favorite quote? This is sort of putting you on the spot.
I am terrible.
Okay,
at
I
quotes.
know a lot of people are. I don't have such a bad memory, but
Oh,
I have a lot of good quotes.
Okay,
love.
it's so funny. I was just asked to come up with some inspirational
Yes.
quotes,
Oh.
and I'm like Googling inspiration.
Okay.
That's how
Oh.
but I'll use one from my mom.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
She used to say, "Mark this,"
Okay.
and she would say it in regards to those moments where you realize, something really good has just happened,
Yeah.
or you it's, I guess Oprah would use like an aha moment
Yes.
kind of thing, but mark this meaning like remember this.
Yes.
Remember this. And I try to do that
Right.
because it's easy to sort of skirt past those, even the
Oh my
littlest
gosh,
moments
right.
that are special or meaningful. And I would say that would be one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea too of just marking the moment in your mind.
Yes.
I remember hearing someone say sort of like click. Like it's almost like you're sort of taking a mental picture of
Yes.
it. But I would also wonder if you mean too, and I don't want to build on yours, but is mark things like whether it's celebrations or other or milestones and
100%.
mark it, because you're gonna look back and those are your sweet memories.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from my life,
Yes.
I just got married.
Yes,
I got married.
congratulations.
Thank you very
Yes.
much. Thank you.
You're
And
glowing.
oh,
You're
thank you.
glowing.
I'm just sweating, I'm
Oh,
sure.
okay. Yeah,
So,
to Andy, or
yes, to
wonderful,
Andy,
yeah.
my
Mhm.
husband,
Yeah.
and still feels funny to say that.
Yeah.
But so the biggest thing, we had a very small ceremony, as you know, and then a big party.
Yep.
And the real goal of that was, I felt, for both of us to have an opportunity to say thank you
Yeah.
and to celebrate.
Mhm.
And it's rare that we get those opportunities anymore. And to that point, marking it and not just letting it pass by. And obviously with a wedding, you typically
Yes.
don't, but this was different.
Yeah.
This was different.
Mhm.
And I'd done the traditional wedding when I married Will, and I wanted just a chance to just thank people,
Yeah.
because the humanity that was shown to me
Yeah.
was something that I never deemed possible.
Yeah.
And that was an opportunity to use my mom's expression to mark it.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
so,
I
yeah.
love that. Okay, last ones. What are you watching, reading, or listening to?
I listen to, this sounds so depressing. I love Anderson Cooper's podcast about grief called
Yes.
All There
Oh, yeah.
Is. And I cannot say enough good things about how healing it has been for me and profound.
Yeah.
That's what I'm listening to.
Okay.
Watching, I'm just finishing. I just finished Hacks, the third
Oh, yeah.
season.
Oh my God, I
So
love that.
good.
Yes.
But there's so much good TV on
Yes,
right now.
there is.
I'm finishing The Pit too.
Okay,
Have you watched
yep,
that?
Of course, I've watched it.
really
I
good.
consume so much, I don't even know what I've watched.
I know. I
but,
love
okay,
that. We
that's a
loved
great one.
Landman.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
I loved Bad Sisters.
Yeah,
Did you
I've
watch?
not watched that one. Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
first season's amazing.
Right,
Amazing.
okay.
Same woman who developed Catastrophe. I don't know
Yes,
if you
oh my
ever.
God, I
Yes,
love her.
she's
Yeah,
incredible.
Sharon.
Yeah,
okay,
Irish.
Yeah.
And then I have been reading The Fourth Wing.
All right, last question. What's your favorite thing about our hometown?
I mean, 100% community. I mean, again, I know I've talked about this,
Yeah.
but when I lost Will, the outpouring of love and support from people I barely even knew
Yeah.
was something that you cannot even fathom.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as much as I sort of hated the fact that everyone knew my business, I was so grateful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so were my girls.
Yeah.
And we had a built-in family right here. And that's just, to say Mayberry has a negative connotation to a certain, like, it feels too saccharine, but it's so true. Like, people, they show up here in Glencoe.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in neighboring communities, but I can
Yes.
only speak to Glencoe because that's where
Yes.
I was
Yes.
and where I grew up. And I just feel like that has been one of the biggest gifts that I've been given.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. Well, you have been a gift to me today. Thank you for
Aw.
letting us get into your business. You are a really impressive neighbor, and I love you. And
Love you
thank
too.
you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.